Yeah, let the big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Kallas and Marks with your host, Joe Staszak. And of course, Steve Kallas is here, and it is time to begin the second season. Stephen, how are you, my friend?
All good, Joe. Great to be with you as always.
You too. Wildcard weekend is upon us. 6 games, and some interesting ones. We're going to start. We'll go in order. The first one, I'm not so sure how interesting, although Carolina did beat the Rams a few weeks ago and picked off Matthew Stafford a bunch of times, and Bryce Young was certainly on his game, and anything can happen in the NFL. But that's where we kick things off today. 4:30 on Fox. Rams are a 6 seed. Or a 5 seed rather, and they are on the road against the Carolina team who finished the season under 500 and are 10.5 point dogs in Charlotte. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are the Rams are going to win this game, and I think they might win it easily. Leaning towards the Panthers plus 10.5, which apparently is the largest home negative, if you will. 10.5 points.
They're the largest home dog in what, playoff history?
I think in the Super Bowl era or some incredible thing. There was one other team that was a 10-point underdog. Um, but I think, look, I don't take a lot from them winning the game, but I do take a lot from them sticking around. To me, you could see one of these, I don't know, let's say 34-17 with that late meaningless touchdown, 34-24.
It's a lot of points. It really is.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the Joe Staszak rule. This is a lot of points, and they did beat them in week 13. Now, Devontae Adams is coming back. He's a touchdown machine, 14 touchdowns, reception. Now, again, he's coming off a hammy. We're going to talk about a few guys coming off hamstring injuries, and you just don't know. Until you really cut it loose, you just don't know. Um, but I will say, Hubbard rushed for 83 yards and had 41 yards in receptions against them. I'm not sure that's going to change. I just think that they can stick around. Bryce Young is young. We get all that. He's an up and downer. We get all that. Stafford is Stafford. He might be the MVP. Certainly a Super Bowl winner in the past. And actually, as you know, with Rick the other day, and I said, and I hope I said it was a little too early. I don't think I'm going to change my picks, but with Rick Morris, when we did that pretty good thing, I already posted it. Um, I think they can hang around, but even if they're losing, that's the scary part. If you want to pick, and again, we do point spreads, a lot of these other people don't. But if you want to pick the Rams and they're up 34-17 late, you're kind of worried.
Yeah, if you're
Because
talking about point spreads, any chance Carolina, because the team that usually covers the spread wins the game. Any chance they win the game? I mean, there's always a chance, but your
I
thought,
would say a slim chance, but again, they did beat the Rams in week 13. Hubbard had a real good game. They had what, two picks, I think, on Stafford that day.
I think it was three, but you
I
might be
I
right.
I, I
One was
think
a
they can
pick,
hang
one was a pick
around.
six. Yeah.
I think they just have a puncher's chance to win, but I wouldn't, I'm guessing now that the majority of the money is going on the Rams because the Panthers are not a team you really want to rely on. I don't know if you have Bryce Young in the same category. I know we talk about Green Bay as Love because Love can do Love things, and that can be a problem. He also lit up the Bears. We'll get to that game later, I'm sure. But I kind of think the Panthers, I wouldn't even say necessarily can hang around, but I think they can cover. Although I did pick the Rams to win the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens with that. Well,
Yeah, you mentioned the Bears and Packers, which is interesting because both teams combined have lost six straight. Packers have lost four. They haven't won a game since Micah Parsons went down. And Jordan Love's coming back off a concussion 2.5 games ago. He hasn't played in a while. And they're a favorite at the Bears, who are the 2 seed. Now, granted, they've lost two straight. They lost to San Francisco and they lost to um, the Lions on the last game of the season. So they're a road favorite, which I thought was interesting. Both teams they split, although the Packers probably should have swept the series. They had that ridiculous comeback, did the Bears with the onside kick and then the bomb to DJ Moore in overtime. I mean, give them credit. They did what they had to do to win the game. But their defense, they have the worst defense, per points per game. They give up to over 24 points a game of all the 14 playoff teams. So again, and I think defense is where games are won in the playoffs. Defense and how you run the ball is the foundation. Still works all these years later. But it's an interesting matchup, and the Packers are a favorite on the road in that game as a 7 seed. And you're right, the Jordan Love never met an ill-advised interception. He didn't like to throw at an ill-advised time. So, we shall see. But he's coming back off the concussion. Bears are relatively healthy from what I've seen, and it's a night game at Soldier Field. Your thoughts?
I like the Bears because I think they can run it. And yes, their defense isn't great, but I think they can run it and have a time of possession, I won't say 40-20, but maybe, 35-25 or something like that. I think they can run it all day, and I think they're going to. The Packers are, I think, just okay at best against the run. Um, and I'm afraid I have more faith now, and maybe you'll tell me I'm wrong, and Caleb, I have more faith in him than I do on Love because Love is just known to throw some absurd interceptions. He's had a really good year and he's killed the pack and he's killed the Bears. Don't get me wrong. Um, but I think this would be like a funny Joe Staszak line. The Bears are the number 2 seed. They're home, and yet they're giving up. They're getting a point and a half. This could be a 1 point game, Joe. But I think I like the Bears, and I think it's mainly because they can run it. Dennis Allen, who's supposedly a great defensive coordinator, now has had 2 games where Love, well, even Malik Willis, right? Malik Willis probably he got a starting job somewhere next year.
Maybe played well
Uh,
when Love has
right.
been
So it's
out.
almost like I don't think you want Love to get hurt because Malik Willis has been really good. And you don't know what he is. It's what you said, coming off as a concussion. He will not have played. This will be 3 weeks since he last played. That's a lot. If you're resting from injury, it's one thing. If you're resting from concussion, it's another thing. Obviously, he must have been cleared to come back and play. But I'm leaning Bears, and I think the Bears running game is going to be the key to the whole game.
Bills Jaguars tomorrow. Very interesting 1 o'clock start. Um, Jacksonville. Actually, it shows Jacksonville is now the favorite. I think the Bills started as the favorite, which I thought was a little weird. The Jags have won 8 straight games, and the Bills are a little up and down. And Josh Allen hasn't been 100% healthy, and really, the Bills have Josh Allen. They have James Cook, who's the rushing king. He beat out Derrick Henry by a few yards, and other than that, their defense is 12th. And in terms of defensive scoring, secondary is pretty good. They did a nice job with the Eagles, although the Eagles just turned off the machine, the engine, in the second half of that game. They ended up winning, but Bills have been a little up and down this year. You don't exactly know what to expect. It's not one of those years where, yeah, I get it. Mahomes is out and Burrow's out, but it's not a Bills team that really is a juggernaut. They're good, and when he throws on the cape and they're playing against a team that doesn't know how to really deal with him or stop the run, they can run the ball, and then Josh Allen can do his thing. But it's going to be interesting to see what Bills team shows up tomorrow. Your
What's
thoughts?
the spread now, Joe?
I have Jacksonville a -1.5, at
Okay,
least on the
so that's
latest. I think the Bills started as a favorite, like a point favorite.
okay. So this is a fascinating game to me. There might be a little Northeast bias, but it's what you said and what Ryan Clark said. Mahomes isn't in the playoffs. Lamar isn't in the playoffs. Joe Burrow isn't in the playoffs. So this is Josh Allen's year of no excuse. Now, I think he can be Superman, but I don't know if he's 100%. I think when we've been watching him, right, he just took 1 snap last week, right? I think to keep his,
Yeah, to keep
it's
the
almost like a
right.
phony starting thing, but I guess you take 1 snap, you take 1 snap, you started the game, you got your streak going, whatever that streak is. But he needs to be 100% because they do have James Cook the third, as you know, 1,621 rushing yards, number 1 in the league. And I do want to just give you a stat I saw on ESPN today. This is the rankings of the teams they played. They're number 1 in rushing the last whatever weeks. But here are the teams they played and their numbers in ranking rushing. Okay. The Jets were the best team they played. They're tied for 10th. The Chargers are 12th. The Broncos 16th. This is against the run. I'm sorry, this is running. This is how they're number 1 right? Now they're saying the Jags are the best team in the league against the run. Their winning streak is the Jets, the Chargers, the Broncos 16th. The Colts are 17th, and they didn't play them with Daniel Jones. They played them twice, I think. The Titans 30th. They played them twice, and the Cardinals are 31st. So, and this is Dan Orlovsky did say they haven't seen a good running team. They just haven't seen one during this whole winning streak. And the other thing I'm going on is experience, frankly. Now, the numbers are terrible for Josh Allen, 0-4 on the road. That's a problem. Although I'm going to guess two, maybe three of them were against the Chiefs. Uh, but he has a really good record in round one. I think he's 5-1. Uh, but James Cook, when James Cook rushes for 100 yards, this is from Swagoo on ESPN. When James Cook runs for 100 yards as a Bill, they're 15-2 and 6.5 yards per rush when he does that. Now, can he do that? I think that's the question of the day because we're going to find out if the Jags were the best team against the run. Not that they're saying that, just that's what the numbers show. But Dan Orlovsky said, they haven't faced a running team anything like the Bills can be. And now, if Josh Allen is Superman, you might be able to stop Cook, but maybe you won't be able to stop Josh Allen. So it's a little bit, I don't mind saying, Lawrence has finally come of age. He's a top quarterback now. I think he had the best stats in December, 13 touchdowns, one pick. But I think the Bills have got Matt Milano back. I'm not telling you they're not the Bills of the last few years, but I think they have enough. And don't forget their tight ends. I think they're playing. They have good tight ends. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm going for Bills mainly because I think Josh Allen will be Superman at least for 1 week. Although I know the Jags with very little experience, Joe, very little playoff experience, don't count that out. So I'm leaning Bills, especially if I'm
Didn't
getting 1.5.
Jacksonville play Jonathan Taylor twice?
Yes, but I don't think Daniel Jones was the quarterback. And so you're right, but I don't think Daniel Jones was the quarterback, certainly in one, maybe in both. And that's a different deal. I
Yeah,
know
and he
they
did
were
he
paying
did tail
Jonathan
off, but he had my vote for MVP if the
MVP.
season stopped
No,
after
that's a
eight
good
games.
point. That's a good point.
If it stopped after 8 games, he really didn't do what he was doing early in the season. He had 3 games. I think we had 3 touchdowns. Like he was the Saquon Barkley of this year, and then it just dropped off the planet, which is, again, I'm not sure why that happened, except for the change in quarterback when they brought in, Phil Rivers at a svelte 280 pounds back there. Um, so okay, let's move
Yeah,
on.
well, just so I can say on that, the Colts were 17th in the league rushing, and it's what you said. He was Saquon
He was
for
Saquon,
six
man.
weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks. But after that, and part of it is Daniel Jones's injury, and they went to a cliff, right?
Yeah, when you have to have when you have Riley Leonard, you have to throw him in the mix, and you're going to focus on Jonathan Taylor then because you're not worried about the quarterback situation there. I mean, I guess the same with Phil Rivers. I mean, are you really worried that he's going to surgically, slice and dice you? He could barely throw 30 yards. So
100%
yeah,
correct.
so I hear you, but they have won 8 games. They were 5-4 with the Jags, and they reeled off 8 straight wins. That's pretty impressive. With Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence, there's a little bit of a conflict between those two, but they get it done. Okay, marquee game, 4:30 Sunday afternoon. The 49ers at the Eagles. That line keeps going up and up and up. I'm not sure why. Usually injuries of a quarterback might shift that a point and a half, but I thought it started 3.5 to 4. Now it's up to 6. And I know the Niners are pretty banged up. Eagles are very healthy going into the playoffs. They have 21 of 22 starters from the opening day roster healthy. Your thoughts on this game?
Oh boy, I'm not sure which way to go because you told me it looks like Lane Johnson is going to play.
Yeah.
And if Lane Johnson plays, the records. We talked about him with Rick the other day. I mean, they're stupid records when he plays winning. I think he has twice as many wins as I think it was like 65-32, but he's well under 500. They're well under 500 when Johnson doesn't play. I'd like to know if Trent Williams is healthy. I know he's questionable, but he has a hamstring and he's a big guy running last week. You saw that. I don't know if it was an interception or a long run or something. I'm sorry. I don't know if it was a completion
He
or
was
a
trying
long
to, it
run.
was a pick six he was trying to chase down.
Yeah, so I don't know. He shouldn't be, but that's apparently when he hurt it. And he's such a big guy. I'm just afraid he can take a wrong step. Or probably he won't go anywhere. He'll stay within what he has to block a pass rusher or make that first block on a run. Ricky Pearsall also has been out for weeks, so he's questionable. He's a big part of what they do now. But I don't think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think the Eagles are Seattle from a defensive position. They're very, very good. But what Seattle did to the 49ers should make you look sideways at the 49ers. But I think I'm going to take the points with the 49ers. Um, what they're doing, though, when they have McCaffrey and Juszczyk uh, on the field together, they rush for 47 yards per game, and that's number one in the NFL. I mean, Juszczyk is probably the best fullback in the NFL. And he's been doing it for years. This is another thing. Look, you can't say anything about 49ers experience versus Eagles experience, especially since the Eagles win the Super Bowls. But if it's 6 points, I'm probably going to take the 49ers because I just think Purdy has been unbelievable and Seattle made him look terrible. And so I just think he can come back from that. I think McCaffrey might still be the best player on the field. Tell me if you disagree with me. He hasn't had a great year,
No, he is.
and he's almost had 1,000 yards receiving, and that's the beauty of McCaffrey. I mean, he's a dual threat, equal at both. In fact, he couldn't run against Seattle.
No,
Uh,
they're 24th in the league in rushing, and I don't quite get it because they have Christian McCaffrey.
yeah, well, I think that's going to be he's more of a receiver now than he is a rusher, but we'll have to see if they can run on the Eagles. You know how good the Eagles defense is. I don't have to tell you. I just don't think they're Seattle, Joe. I think they're right up there. And as you say, if you can defend and you can rush it, well, the 49ers have virtually no linebackers, and that's a big problem. You know, they had Fred Warner, Hall of Famer in my view, but he's not getting back, at least not for this game. So, once again, do I think the 49ers can win? I think they have a better chance than the Panthers, but I don't think they have a real good chance either. But it's gone, as you said, from 4.5 to 5.5 to 6, might be even higher by game time. So I'll take the 49ers probably with whatever they're getting. Understanding if Lane Johnson plays, almost all that analysis should go out the window.
Well, yeah, that's true. My picks will be coming forthcoming shortly. Um, Chargers, Patriots. This is an interesting game. Chargers, listen, is it time to, start developing Justin Herbert's legacy? Because it's taken a couple of hits in a couple postseasons when he lost a 27-point lead to the Jags and he threw four picks against the Texans, 0-2 in the playoffs. Had a pretty nice year. Yep, I got you, brother. He had a pretty nice year. Um, Banged up with the left hand. They are on the road at a New England team, Foxborough. They've won 14 of 17 games. Now, I know everyone talks about their schedule. Strength of schedule is 32nd. They had the easiest schedule in the league, but they still had to beat who they beat, and they beat them pretty handily. Drake May was up there for MVP candidate, as an MVP candidate. We'll see what happens there, but they are hosting the Chargers. Your thoughts?
Well, I think the Patriots have really limited experience, frankly. And of course, Drake May, who's young, his first playoff game. But he also led the league in completion percentage. He's maybe arguably the best deep ball thrower in the league, which is incredible. Patriots are very good in the red zone. The Chargers are 29th in the red zone on offense. Omario Hampton apparently is going to play, and he can really help them. And everybody points to Derwin James as the wild card defensively, who, can blitz, can cover, he can do it all. Um, and he's also very good against tight ends. But, I think the Patriots have two very good tight ends. So I think if he's going to cover one, then they'll be looking to the other. Hooper being the other, the one that's not known. Um, I like the Patriots. I'm not biased because of Johnny Kallas. He likes the Patriots, not surprisingly. But I will say this, and I know we talked about it last year. I was so disappointed. I loved Herbert last year. And I was so disappointed in his playoff performance. He's now 0-2 in the playoffs, 2 touchdowns, 4 picks. He threw those 4 picks last year against the Texans. Now, the Texans are real good defensively, not as good as they are this year. They're even better this year, I think, than last year. But Herbert just crumbled in that game, I thought, and I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe the way he played. And now he's 0-2. He's not Lamar, but he's, if he loses this one and doesn't play really well, and people think he's going to play really well, you're right about the Patriots schedule, but it's also what you said. You don't control your schedule, and you play who you play. They did beat the Bills, um, but they haven't beaten a lot of really good teams. But I think they win at home. This is their first home game since what, 2019, I think, when Tom Brady was still around. So I do like the Patriots. I do want to see how Herbert, who, had a really good season, but I do want to see how he plays under playoff pressure. And of course, how Drake May plays under playoff pressure.
And the final game is Monday night. Maybe Mike Tomlin's last game as the head coach of the Steelers. He might want to move on his own. I'm hearing things like that it's possible. Well, anything's possible, but I heard things that he's considering it. But hey, big win against the Ravens last week to get in. Playing a Houston, it's careful what you wish for because we're playing a Houston team whose defense is just off the charts, and they're at home. I mean, that's why the playoffs are a little screwy. The Texans are certainly they've done more, they've earned more, but they are on the road in Pittsburgh. Um, Monday night, your thoughts?
Well, I like the Texans. They say defense travels, and they do have the best defense. I will say this, though, one Aaron Rodgers stat, he averages getting rid of the ball 2.59 seconds. That's the fastest in the NFL, and that's what he's going to have to do. He is getting DK Metcalf back, of course, so that'll help. But I think the Texans, for them to be dominant, they need CJ Stroud to be really good. And I think he can be. He's 2-0 in wild card games, but 0-2 after that. And this is a wild card game. It's just interesting, though, because suppose the Ravens kicker made a 44-yard field goal. Does Harbaugh still have a job? Does Tomlin still have a job? It's the craziest thing because that game was decided by kickers, which doesn't usually happen, by missed kickers, missed extra point, and then a missed 44-yard field goal by Loop. So I don't know. Look, I've picked a lot. Johnny said last week when he was with us, so picked a lot against the Steelers, and they found a way. They found a way. They found a way. But I think the death knell for Tomlin might very well be he's 0-6 in his last playoff games, and if he loses this one, he's 0-7. So does management see like a level, Steelers are famous forever for what? Keeping their coaches forever, right? I mean, guys forever. They had like 3 coaches for 35 years or something. And Tomlin is another guy in that long list. I think he'll get a job easily. If they lose and he gets fired, he'll have job offers galore, I think. But I think the Texans defense is too tough, and I think they can cause some damage in these playoffs if CJ Stroud can play like year one CJ Stroud as opposed to year two CJ Stroud.
Okay, well there it is. Now let's do. I know you kind of leaned which way you were going on some of those games. Let's do picks. We're going to pick all 6 games, and this is where you really thrive. You had when we did like every game. Was it last year, 2 years ago? And you were like 23-1. So
No, 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 no. It
that's
was
how
a
I
few years
remember it.
ago when they only
That's
had
how I
11
remember it.
games, and I went 25-8 over a 3-year period, but I haven't really kept those stats. I probably should have, but you heard most of my picks. I'll take the Bills, whatever they're getting, or even if they're favored. Apparently that's changing from day to day. And as you said, with only 6 games, there'll be late money that will affect. This isn't the Raiders playing the Giants now. This is for real. I'll take the Bears plus the 1.5 that I've seen right now. I'll take the Patriots minus 3.5. Taking the Panthers to cover 10.5, as I said, if it's 34-17 late. I think they can get that late. I don't want to say meaningless, but essentially meaningless touchdown. I'll take the 49ers, I'll take the 6 or the 5.5 or whatever it turns out to be. It started at 4.5. Again, not because they're necessarily going to win. I think you asked me Joe, that I think the Panthers have a puncher's chance. I think the 49ers have a little more than a puncher's chance because I still think they have the best player on the field, and that's McCaffrey. But Purdy has to play a lot better than last week. I do think Seattle's defense and their front four, as good as the Eagles are, I think Seattle has a better defense and a better front four in terms of getting to the quarterback. Purdy, that's like the worst game I've seen him play in a few years, other than maybe the three interception game when he came back from injury, missing like 6 weeks or something. So it's the Texans, the 49ers plus the points, the Patriots, the Panthers plus the points, the Bills, whatever that spread is, and the Bears plus 1.5. How about you?
I'm going to go with the Rams. I know you said it's the big, since we have to pick these games. We're picking this game for because that's for the rule today. I'll take the Rams. I think they're going to win the game minus the 10.5 on the road. Should be interesting. Devontae Adams is a key piece to that Rams offense, even though that they can really put up points even without him. The Bears game, I'm going back and forth because I think that's a goofy line. The Packers being favored as a 7 seed with a quarterback who's dinged up. They haven't won in 5 weeks, 4 weeks. But I have a feeling, I just have this feeling about the Bears are going to win the game. So I'm going with the Bears, and they are getting points. So I'll take a home dog. It's a number 2 seed, but I think that line's a little goofy. Jags laying a 1.5. I think that started as a Bills line that they were favored, but I'll take them. If you tell me they stopped the run better than anyone, despite the weaknesses of the weak teams they played, a team on an 8-game winning streak at home, laying a 1.5, that's basically a pick 'em. I'll take them. I'm going to take the Eagles because the smart money's on the Eagles. Look, their offense is kind of anemic, and it's been anemic all year. But a lot of the Sharks are taking the Eagles, so I'm going to jump on their band. That line has moved up a 1.5 already. I don't know
It's a lot.
why. Maybe the injuries. I don't know. I know that the Niners are decimated, but before the Seattle game, they won 3 in a row and they scored over 30 points, and they still had some injury issues. So, and then I'm going to take the Pats, a team that's won 14 games, against a Chargers team that doesn't necessarily perform well in the playoffs. Justin Herbert's a tough son of a gun, and I wouldn't be surprised if he came up big, but I think that team is still missing some parts. And I'm taking the Texans. The Steelers, I know Tomlin's record at home in the playoffs as a home dog is spectacular, but that Texans defense, you can't hide from them. And I think that could be a problem for Aaron Rodgers and that squad. I think Pittsburgh got into the playoffs, but probably should have gotten in the week before. They lost to the Browns. They scored 6 points, and but and they had a nice comeback win over the Ravens. That fourth quarter was crazy. So I'm going with the Texans on the road, laying 3 points at Pittsburgh. All
Joe,
right.
I should point out we were both 2-1 last week, and I think that's like 3 or 4 weeks of 2-1 in a row. I think you were 3-0 in one of those. So we'll see what happens in the playoffs. It's always tough. I thought it was very tough to pick these games, but I think it's been very tough virtually all season. The way crazy things happened this year, like again, no Chiefs, no Ravens. I mean, no Bengals. I think it was a crazy year.
I like it. I like some fresh blood, fresh fish in the postseason. Going to be interesting. Going to be interesting. All right. Well, before we wrap, I want to talk a little bit about the college football playoff because it's down to 2 teams. One of them doesn't beat themselves. The other couldn't do anything more to almost give up the game on Thursday night. But Miami beat Ole Miss last 18 seconds. They scored. That was a wild fourth quarter. It was a fun game to watch. They're playing at home now in the title game on the 19th, and they play the winner of last night was Oregon and Indiana. Oregon, Daniel Moore threw a pick six 11 seconds into the game, and it got pretty much worse from there. I can't figure out why this team is so good, Indiana, because they had 3 wins before Kurt Cignetti took over the program, and they only have like a handful of 5-star recruits. versus Oregon, who had 40 something. Miami had 40 something, and Ole Miss had like 50 something on their roster. They do have the Heisman Trophy winner, who has thrown 8 touchdowns in the playoffs so far versus 5 incompletions. He's got more touchdowns than incompletions, and he was money last night. And their receivers catch everything. Like he says after the game, and the joke is that he's AI. Is it AI or a real person? Because when he speaks, he has these sound bites that are like, is that's really a kid, talking like that, a 21-year-old kid. He was money. The team was money. They don't beat themselves. They're one of the top teams, top three, and least penalized. Whereas Miami is the bottom three and most penalized. Miami again couldn't do more to give up that game the other night, and they dominated. 42 minutes of time of possession versus 18 for Ole Miss, and they were trailing twice in the fourth quarter. The line went up 2 points after watching that game last night. They do projected lines before the game, like say, well, Indiana wins, they're going to be a 5.5 point favorite. If Oregon won, they would have been a 2.5 point favorite. Well, I mean, they scored 56 points last night, so now they're now a 7.5 point favorite. Um, you know where my heart lies, but that's going to be
Yep.
it could be a problem. They could be a
Yep.
problem in that title game. And that kid is as good as advertised. 5 touchdowns last night. Again, he's had 5 incompletions and 8 touchdowns in the playoffs. It's one of those Cinderella stories. They don't always end up, in championships, but it looks pretty good for Indiana. I got to be honest. Miami's probably bigger and stronger, maybe faster in some areas, but again, they have to play clean. Where Indiana, they don't beat themselves. In fact, no one beats them either. So they're 15 and 0. I don't know if a team can go 16 and 0 these days. It used to be 12 and 0. That was a standard. If they win on next Monday, it's 16 and 0, 16 games. That's hard to do. And look, the NFL, nobody does it except the Dolphins, and they were 14 and 0. Patriots were 18 and 0 until they lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl. So they actually got past the threshold, but that's hard to do. I don't care what level you're playing. I know there's not as much parity in college football, but 16 and 0 is impressive. No team has ever done that. This team is one for the ages, and we'll see if they can, finish the job. Because you have to finish the job, otherwise you become like a little bedtime story on the shelf. When you win a
Oh,
championship,
you become Ohio State, I think.
right, you're known forever if you win a championship. So, any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on what
Yeah.
Indiana's done?
And I just meant Ohio State this year, of course. But
Right.
well, I will tell you this because we don't do a lot of college football. That's mainly my fault. But Johnny and I, because he's teaching that at Illinois now, we followed Illinois, and you'll recall, I think Illinois was like ninth in the country, and Indiana beat them 63-10. Earliest, I'm going to guess it was like week 4 or something. But we always had like an eye on Indiana, but of course, we didn't think they were doing what they did or what they're doing. I think they're going to win the final. Coach still has a chip on his shoulder. I don't know if you saw some sideline stuff with him. I don't know if he wants to rub it in everybody because he thinks it took forever for him to get this job, and in 2 years, they made them superstars without super talented on paper guys. They obviously have a super talented Heisman winning quarterback, but they really don't have. It was interesting. I saw the chart that you saw about who's got how many top picks or whatever in college. But I think he's going to get all the players he wants now. I think he signed a $90 million contract, 8 years or something. So he's set for life. But people were saying, well, if someone's going to draft a quarterback number one, the Raiders or something, they should offer the job. They should offer the job to his coach because they must be a really good pair. But I think he's probably going to stay in the college game and become a dominant coach. If you're in the portal now, you might be calling him and saying, "Can I come to your team?" The portal's a weird thing. I don't know if it's good. NIL, I don't know if that's good if you're making millions as opposed to, I always thought the players should be paid. And now to some degree they are paid. But I think, look, they've been the best team. I think since they beat Illinois 63-10, I think they've been the best team. And I know how you are with Miami, and I give Miami a puncher's chance, but that's all I give them, Joe.
My official prediction right here, right now, Kirk Cignetti ends up coaching Alabama within 3 years. I think
Ooh,
he's going back. He was an assistant coach for Saban some many years ago.
oh,
Kalen
interesting.
DeBoer, look, I'm sorry. I know you got to give a guy time, but 2 straight years with 4 losses
Yeah.
after, when you follow Saban, you never want to be the guy who follows a legend, maybe the guy
Right.
who follows the guy who follows the legend.
Exactly.
But
That's exactly right.
I think Signetti is going to go to a higher profile program. He's going to, well, he might win a championship there, and then maybe in a couple of years, because I don't think there's a lot of patience in Tuscaloosa for losing 4 games and getting embarrassed by Signetti a few weeks ago, 38-7. So
You ain't kidding.
we shall see. Good stuff, my friend. Game started 4:30. I love this weekend. I mean, the last 2 nights have been semifinal games in the college ranks, and now you got 2 games of pro, 3 games tomorrow, and then a game on Monday night. They've added that Monday night game recently, last 5 years. Good stuff. You can follow Steve Stuff on his daily Facebook forum page, Speaking of Sports with Steve Kallas. Also, this podcast on YouTube and all the audio outlets. You can follow me on Instagram at Joe Staszak 4799 or on Twitter X at Joe Staszak 975. Good stuff, my friend. Have a great weekend. I'm sure we'll be texting back and forth.
Always a pleasure, Joe.
You too. Appreciate it, folks, for watching, and have a great and safe weekend.